The day Celine Whitmore bought the jail, the town of Red Hollow stopped breathing. Men froze mid-spit outside the saloon. The blacksmith leaned on his hammer like it had suddenly grown too heavy. Even the wind seemed to hesitate, dust hanging in the air as if waiting to see what kind of woman would dare such a thing. The jail sat at the edge of town, squat and ugly, built of stone and iron bars that had held drunks, thieves, and one murderer too many. It had been closed for months, since the marshal had been run out in disgrace, and no one else wanted the job. The building was supposed to be auctioned cheap, maybe torn down, maybe forgotten. Instead, a woman bought it. Celine Whitmore stepped down from her carriage in a tailored gray dress that looked more Eastern than frontier. Her boots were practical, her hat modest but well kept, and her eyes sharp, measuring mist. Nothing. She held the deed in her gloved hand like a winning card. "Well," she said lightly, surveying the jail, "it's sturdier than I expected." Mayor Hollis wiped sweat from his brow. "Miss Whitmore, we assumed you were here about the hotel investment." "I was," Celine replied. "And I bought that too, yesterday." The mayor blinked. You did?" "Yes. Now today, I've bought the jail." She turned to him, smiling politely. "Is there a problem?" The problem was obvious. Women didn't own jails. Businesswomen didn't come to dying towns and buy up their failures. And no one with sense wanted anything to do with Red Hollow's jail. Mayor Hollis cleared his throat. "It's just people might talk." Celine's smile sharpened. "People always do." She walked toward the heavy iron door, testing it with a firm push. The hinges groaned but held. Inside, dust coated the floor. Empty cells yawned, open, their silence louder than shouting. This place had been abandoned in more ways than one. "Why?" the mayor finally asked. "Why the jail?" Celine turned, eyes steady. "Because Red Hollow needs order. And order is profitable." That was when a voice drifted from across the street, low and dry as old whiskey. "Careful, Mayor. She might be right." They all turned. Christopher Hale stood in the shade of the saloon porch, hat pulled low, beard untrimmed, coat worn thin at the elbows. Once he'd been Red Hollow's marshal, respected, feared, trusted. Then came the scandal. A prisoner escaped. A man died. The truth tangled with rumors until no one cared which was which. Christopher took a slow step forward. "Jail don't run itself." Celine studied him openly. "You must be Mr. Hale." "Former," he said. "In every sense. I've heard about you. That makes one of us, who still listens to stories." She didn't flinch. Instead, she nodded toward the jail. "I'm looking for someone to run it." A laugh rippled through the crowd. Christopher's mouth twitched, but there was no humor in his eyes. "You're wasting your money," he said. "That place ruins people." "Only if it's run badly," Celine replied. "I plan to change that." Christopher met her gaze, something old and bitter stirring behind his eyes. "And you think I'm your man?" "I think," Celine said calmly. "You're the only one who knows how this jail truly works, and what it costs to keep order in a town like this." The wind kicked up again, dust swirling between them. Christopher exhaled slowly. "You know hiring me will stir trouble." She smiled, confident and unafraid. "Then it seems we'll both be getting exactly what we paid for." And in that moment, Red Hollow understood. Something had shifted. Something ironbound and dangerous had just been unlocked. Christopher Hale didn't accept the job right away. He stood outside the jail with Celine Whitmore as the afternoon sun slid west, painting the stone walls in rust-colored light. The crowd had thinned, curiosity giving way to unease. Red Hollow didn't like unanswered questions, and Celine Whitmore was full of them. "I don't work for free," Christopher said at last. "I wouldn't insult you by asking," Celine replied. She unlocked the jail door and stepped inside, confident he would follow. He did. The interior smelled of dust, old sweat, and rusted iron. Celine moved through the space slowly, hands clasped behind her back, taking stock like a general surveying a battlefield. "This jail failed," Christopher said. Not because of the building, because of the town. Celine stopped in front of the largest cell. Failures are often just systems that weren't designed to last. P leaned against the wall. And what system are you designing? One that makes Red Hollow safer, she said. And one that pays. Christopher snorted. There it is. She turned to him, unbothered. Crime exists, whether we acknowledge it or not. Right now, bandits pass through unchallenged. Drunks settle disputes with knives. No one fears consequences. That's bad for business. You planning to charge admission? He asked. I'm planning to make this jail functional, she said. Prisoner transport fees. Holding contracts for neighboring towns. Bounty intake. Order creates revenue. Christopher studied her closely now. Not just her words, but her posture, her calm certainty. She wasn't reckless. She was deliberate. And where do I fit in? He asked. She reached into her satchel and handed him a folded paper. He didn't take it at first. What's that? He asked. Your contract. He raised an eyebrow. You already wrote it. I prefer preparation over persuasion. After a moment, he took the paper and unfolded it. His eyes moved slowly, jaw tightening. You're offering me full authority, he said. Operational control, yes. And a percentage of profits. Yes. And public backing, he continued, from you. Celine met his gaze. You were thrown to the wolves, Mr. Hale. I don't intend to do the same. Christopher folded the contract back up. You don't even know what really happened. I know enough, she said. And I know this town needs someone who isn't afraid of being hated. Silence stretched between them. Finally, he asked, why me? Celine's expression softened just slightly. Because you already paid the price. That makes you difficult to corrupt. Christopher looked away, memories clawing up from places he'd buried deep. The escaped prisoner. The night shots rang out. The body found near the river. The town deciding he was easier to blame than the truth. You hire me, he said quietly. You hire my enemies too. She nodded. I'm counting on it. Outside, a voice shouted, angry drunk. Christopher stiffened. That'll be Frank Morrow, gambler, knife fighter. Been testing the limits since the jail closed. As if summoned, Morrow staggered into view at the open door. So it's true, he slurred. The lady bought herself a cage. Celine stepped forward before Christopher could speak. Good evening, Mr. Morrow. He blinked. Surprised, you know my name. I make it my business to know who causes trouble. Morrow grinned. Then you know you can't stop me. Celine didn't raise her voice. I can hold you. I can charge towns for holding you. I can make your habits expensive. The grin faded. Christopher watched her carefully. She wasn't bluffing. And Morrow knew it. You got yourself a marshal now, Morrow sneered, glancing at Christopher. Not yet, Christopher said evenly. But I'm thinking about it. Morrow spat in the dust. Town won't stand for this. Celine smiled thinly. The town doesn't own this jail anymore. Morrow backed away, muttering curses. Christopher exhaled slowly. You make enemies fast. I make them, honestly, she replied. He looked at the contract again. Then at the jail. Then at the town that had broken him. I'll take the job, he said. On one condition, Celine tilted her head. Name it. When the past comes knocking, he said, you don't ask me to outrun it. She extended her hand. I wouldn't dream of it. They shook ceiling. A partnership built not on trust, but on shared defiance. Red Hollow woke up angry. By sunrise, word had spread that Christopher Hale was back in charge of the jail. Doors closed a little harder. Conversations hushed when he passed. Some faces showed relief. Others sharpened with resentment. The past had teeth, and it was biting again. Christopher unlocked the jail with a heavy ring of keys, the sound echoing like a challenge. Celine stood nearby, sleeves rolled up, already overseeing deliveries, new locks, ledgers, and a pair of oil lamps. You don't have to be here this early, Christopher said. I own the place, she replied. And I don't believe in invisible authority. He almost smiled. They worked in silence for a while. Christopher checked cells, tested bars, and inspected old shackles. Every clink of metal stirred memories, long nights, bloodied knuckles, promises he couldn't keep. Celine watched him from across the room. "You still carry it," she said quietly. "Some things don't set down easy." Before she could respond, shouting erupted outside. Frank Morrow, again this time sober enough to be dangerous. He'd brought friends. "They can't do this," Morrow yelled. "That jail's cursed. And he's a killer." Christopher stepped out into the street, jaw tight. "Careful, Frank." Morrow laughed. "You gonna lock me up, Marshal?" "Jailer," Christopher corrected. "Different rules." Morrow shoved him. The crowd gasped. Christopher didn't strike back, not yet. He waited, eyes cold. Celine's voice cut through the noise. "Mr. Morrow, assaulting my employee is a chargeable offense." Morrow turned on her. "This is men's business." Celine didn't raise her voice. "So is paying fines. $10, or 1 night in my jail." The crowd went still. $10 was no small sum. Morrow hesitated just long enough. Christopher moved fast. He twisted Morrow's arm, pinned him, and marched him toward the jail. No unnecessary blows. No anger, just precision. The cell door slammed shut. The sound carried across town. For the first time in months, Red Hollow felt consequence. That night, Christopher sat alone in his office, staring at the ledger. Morrow's name sat neatly recorded, time served, fine paid in the morning. Celine appeared in the doorway with 2 cups of coffee. She set one down. "You handled that well. You knew he'd push." "Yes," she said. "I also knew you'd hold." Christopher looked at her. "You're using me." She didn't deny it. "And you're using me too." A beat passed. "You could have hired someone clean," he said. "No stains." "I don't trust clean," Celine replied. "I trust tested." Later that night, a rider arrived, breathless, frantic. "They're saying the man who escaped," he whispered, "was found alive in Silver Pass." Christopher froze. The ghost had a pulse. Celine saw his face harden. "Is this the past you warned me about?" "Yes," he said. "And it's worse than you think." From the cell, Frank Morrow laughed softly in the dark. Silver Pass sat 2 days' ride east, tucked between cliffs that swallowed sound and truth alike. By the time the rumor reached Red Hollow, it had grown teeth. Men whispered that the escaped prisoner, Eli Brandt, hadn't just survived, but had been protected, hidden, paid for. Christopher Hale hadn't slept. He sat at his desk in the jail, staring at the lamplight, trembling over old reports. His own handwriting stared back at him, dates, times, orders given in good faith. The night Brandt vanished played over and over in his mind. Sharper now, with the possibility that the truth had been buried on purpose. Celine stood across from him, calm as ever, though her eyes betrayed calculation. "If Brandt is alive," she said, "someone lied." Christopher laughed without humor. "Someone always lies." "And if he walks into Red Hollow?" she asked. "Then the town will tear itself apart." She nodded. "Which is bad for business." Outside, the jail bell rang. A rider dismounted hard, boots skidding in dust. "Bandits on the South Road," he said. 3 men robbed a supply wagon, headed this way. Christopher stood immediately. "An hour, maybe less." Celine didn't hesitate. "Then we prepare." They worked fast. The jail wasn't just a cage, it was a symbol. Christopher organized patrols, deputizing 2 men who still trusted him. Celine arranged supplies and posted notices. "Order will be enforced. Fines collected immediately." When the bandits arrived, they found a town ready. Gunfire cracked the air, sharp and brief. 1 man fell, 2 fled, 1 surrendered. The prisoner sat in the cell, bleeding and silent. Christopher locked the door and turned away, only to find the crowd already gathering, eyes hungry. "He killed my brother," someone shouted. Christopher raised a hand. "He'll be tried." Celine stepped beside him and held safely. The crowd wavered. Then, slowly, they dispersed. Later, Christopher leaned against the jail wall, exhausted. "You could have let them hang him," he said to Celine. "Yes," she replied. But then this becomes something else. He studied her. You're not as cold as you pretend. She met his gaze. Neither are you. That night, a letter arrived in Brant is coming, and this time he won't run. Christopher folded it carefully. Tomorrow, he said, everything breaks. Celine placed a hand over the deed, locked in her desk. Then tomorrow, she said, we hold. Eli Brant rode into Red Hollow at dawn. He didn't sneak. He didn't hide. He came straight down Main Street, coat clean, gun worn openly. A man confident in the damage his name alone could cause. People watched from behind curtains and door frames, fear creeping back into the bones of the town. Christopher Hale stood on the jail steps when Brant dismounted. So, Brant said lightly, they let you crawl back. They didn't, Christopher replied. I walked. Brant's smile flickered. Still pretending you're the good man. Celine stepped forward, calm and composed. Eli Brant, you're wanted for escape, theft, and murder. Brant laughed. You own a building, lady. Not the law. I own leverage, Celine said. And this town, Brant drew. He never got the shot off. Christopher moved. First fast, practiced, final. The struggle was brutal, but short. When it ended, Brant lay in the dust gun, kicked away. Wrists shackled. The jail door closed behind him. Inside the cell, Brant sneered. You think this fixes your name? Christopher leaned close. No, it fixes yours. The truth came out by nightfall. Brant had been bribed out. A councilman had ordered the cover-up. Christopher had been convenient to blame. By morning, the town knew. Celine stood in the street as the councilman was led away. Red Hollow watched, silent and changed. Later, as the sun dipped low, Christopher handed Celine his keys. I'm done, he said. She didn't take them. No, you're just starting. He hesitated, then nodded. The jail stood solid, behind them not a symbol of fear, but of order earned. And Red Hollow finally exhaled. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Western stories.